If you've got a bulldozer who is highly productive, but literally just is always causing HR headaches or being brought up every week, and they can't be taught, and even when you move them, they're still a bulldozer, just fucking get rid of them. No matter how good they are, how productive they are, you're going to build a much better business without them. Welcome to the Spinoso Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Spinoso, and my expertise is in scaling all types of medical businesses to 7, 8, and 9 figures. And I'm sharing with you my journey and hopefully towards some sort of multi-9-figure exit. I'm not telling you you should do this. I'm just telling you how I did this. I want you to take ownership of your life, become a better leader at home and at work. And guys, if you want to connect with me, check out dralexspinoso.com. I invite you to connect with me on my Instagram. I'm not important enough for other people to answer my IG direct messages yet. So Dr. Alex Spinoso. And as always, you can connect with my co-host, Miss Amanda May, at Amanda May Beauty Boss.
Yes, on Instagram.
On Instagram, and then amandamaybeauty.com. So let's get into it, guys. We got some good stuff for you today. But I've actually never noticed. I think I noticed this actually before. What you have what is your forearm tattoo? What is this?
Oh, yes.
What is this?
It says Psalms 23. I don't know if you can
Badass.
see
Okay.
there, but
What is Psalms 23?
the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. That actually is a tattoo I got from my father, my late father, the first Father's Day after his passing. I got that tattooed. And I got that because I was working in Las Vegas, and it was, I was making a lot of money, and it was really easy on nights where I didn't make as much money to just get like kind of cynical and snarky about like, oh, it wasn't a good night. But when I went into the hospitality industry, I was modeling at, it was the Aladdin, and it became Planet Hollywood. And so I had to be there for all like the celebrity events and things. And so the celebrity events.
You were just like hot girl status. That's
Yeah,
like what you had to
pretty
do, professional
much.
hot girl.
Yeah.
I had that same problem and I gave up that life. But
Yeah, it was
that's
it
awesome.
was a very
It's awesome
lucrative
to
hot
be-
girl job.
That's awesome. Sounds fucking awesome. But go on.
But I mean, I would get $500 chips, and
Yeah.
I would easily make
Oh,
a couple
wow.
$1,000s a night.
Yeah.
And, it was fantastic.
That's
And-
crazy.
But if I, made 1,000 instead of 2,000, I started to get just like a little like, I don't know, like attitude about it or something.
Pores.
Yeah. And I
Is it
remember
pores?
I remember one time thinking like my dad would be disappointed
Oh, okay.
in me
Yeah.
because he just didn't have much, and he was so happy, and I was his only kid. And like, he was very humble and very happy with very little. Not that I just want to have very little, but it did keep my mind in a good place. So I got that tattooed because I would always see it. My outfit that I wore went right above it. So yeah, that's why I got it.
I totally didn't. Okay, so go back. I missed something.
Okay.
So you got it for the Lord is my shepherd.
I shall not
I
want.
shall not want. Okay,
But it
now
was-
I connected it with the second half of that phrase.
Yeah.
Because I was like, how do those two connect with each other?
Yeah.
I was trying to make a connection.
It was my dad. Oh, yes, because I left out a very important
I was
part
gonna
of
say,
this.
I felt
My
like there was
dad's
something
favorite.
like
It was
like,
my dad's favorite verse.
Oh, okay.
It was
there
on.
you go.
Yeah, there we go.
I
Sorry,
was,
that was an important part.
There was
of
a
the
huge
story.
part that was. It felt like two parallel stories, and I was trying
You're
to
like,
connect
how
those.
do they?
The audience is like, okay, I guess choose
Listen.
random Bible phrase
is-
because my dad was happy, and okay,
That's funny.
okay.
This
so-
is how I tell stories, and Sean's like, "Yo, babe, we're gonna give you
like where the fuck is the
fill in the
that's like
gaps
the
for
most
me."
important part of the story
was the
too.
most
Like
important.
you could have started with just
It
that
made sense in
and
my
not
head.
told the rest of it. You could have just said it was my dad's favorite and told none of the other story.
stuff.
Like it was
Yeah.
that was a reverse story.
Should we start the
best.
podcast over?
I feel like that was awesome. No, that was good. That was good.
Yeah. So
That's wild.
my dad's favorite verse, and that was on his whatever that's called when they pass the little pamphlet or
the like obituary.
Yeah.
Pamphlet. I guess
was
I'm
on
not
there.
sure
was
what
on
that
there
is.
too,
Like
so.
in memoriam. Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
That's where it came from.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I never asked about that. All right,
That's it. So today
Let's get into it.
You've been in business for a long while.
Yeah,
For a while, at
for a long
least.
while. It's
Uh,
like 5
5
years.
years. But you've been in your profession for a long time, and you've been exposed to all sorts of personalities, in business, and so we're gonna talk about today what you've learned about managing different personality types, and not just in a way that makes them effective, but in a way that really makes them feel fulfilled and happy, as happy as possible in the work that they're doing. And so, starting with personalities, I
Yeah.
think we need to start with the differences between your personality
Yeah.
and your business partner, Brent at
Yeah,
Genesis,
yeah.
Brent Messer,
Uh-huh.
and the differences in your personalities. And like I said, I think it was in one of our recent podcasts, we're going to have a podcast on that titled How Not to Kill Your Business Partner.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
this is the part where we get to talk about how you managed the differences in your personalities and he's still alive, and that's fantastic.
Right, it's excellent. It's excellent. So, yeah, Brent and I feel or I know that when we first started in business together 5 years ago, Brent and I were exact opposite ends of the spectrum, which is actually very good. It's honestly like any relationship that you're going to have, it's important to find someone who and the cliche is, you complete me. But it's good to find somebody who is kind of opposite of you, and that's why they say opposites attract and stuff because they give you something that you don't have. But at the same time, it's really difficult if you're both like really type A or really, um, I guess, high strung, which I guess is part of type A, or both really chill, or you're both Willy Wonkas, which is that imaginative.
Mm.
And Brent and I work really well together because he is a true CEO, meaning he has ideas and he has directions that he wants to go in and he has things to get figured out but he has fucking zero desire to do it. Like zero. Like it's fucking like I could prod him with a hot stick and it would take him he's like a slow moving molasses type creature and I'm the opposite. I'm like a chihuahua that like won't fucking sit still like the mouse in cartoons where he's like, I love playing basketball. Basketball's great. Basketball's awesome. I do like playing basketball. Basketball's really cool. I love it. You're really tall and you like to play basketball too. And like that's kind of me. And the way my mind works, so it works really well together because I'm always like go, 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 go. And I'm very hot-headed. He's very, very opposite, level-headed. I always wanna rock the boat, and he never wants to rock the boat. And so it's actually worked really well together because we're really good opposites, so we can at least bounce ideas off each other and have a different, opinion, different viewpoint, and come to an agreement in the middle where we both are happy with
Mm.
satisfying our own attitudes in the way we are. But it's become funny because we've slowly like moved towards each other and who we are. And I've gotten calmer and more analytical. Well, let's get all the stories and get all the information. And then we could make a decision. And Brent's gotten faster in making his decisions and being like, no, I don't like fuck that guy sort of thing. So we've gotten closer and closer, but I think we still really balance each other out when it comes to that. And that's what you want when you look for a partner is you want for and I guess it's not just a marriage partner, but a business partner because you're going to spend more time with your business partner, have to have harder arguments with your business partner, etc. Because you deal with them way more than you do with your spouse. Unless you're obviously your spouse is your business partner, which then I pray for you. And I know some people do it. They're fucking saints. We couldn't. It took us a week before I was like, We cannot work together, love." When my wife came to work for Genesis for a week. But, he is very laid back. His strengths are, introspection, thinking about all the aspects of it and then of a decision and then also the Willy Wonka effect, like thinking of this idea and that idea is we should do this, we should do that. And then I am the one who is the integrator, the actual person who goes and, okay, cool, I can do that. Let's get this done. Let's put this in line. Let's organize this. Brent is, there's two people. There's the person who loads the dishwasher like a raccoon on cocaine. And then there's the architect I'm the architect when it comes to the dishwasher loading. He is a fucking rabid raccoon. No. Another way of putting that, or another, I guess, like cliche is Brent is the type of person in our, I would say, business marriage that just shows up to the airport like, "Where are we going?" Like, he's got no fucking clue. I'm the one who has, like, all the clue, the ideas, and it's set up and our itinerary and stuff, and it's funny because Brent's wife is exactly like me.
Mm.
She's, like, very A-type, very knows everything. She's and she does know everything. She's pharmacist, she's fucking insanely smart. She sets everything up. Brent will just show up to the airport and be like, "Cool, we're going on vacation." "Where we going?" It's the same with, like, business trips and shit like that for us. So it's pretty damn hilarious, when it comes to that. But that being said, we work really well together because we're both experts in opposite things.
Mm.
I'm very good at speaking in front of people on stages, culture building, pushing myself to try and learn, study humans and how they react and everything like that, and the medical side of things. And he's very good at the back end stuff, where he excels more in one on one situations, one on one conversations, which I don't. Like I can stand in front of a stage in front of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people without any problems. You get me in a room with like one or two people just talking back and forth, and I'm like, I like your shoes and the weather is cool. Like I do not do well in like one-on-one conversational situations. He is phenomenal with that. But then also on strategic thinking, marketing, all those back end things, he's very, very good at. So we've kind of started to balance each other out. But in spite of personalities, we have had conversations where it's like, if you do not do this, I will fucking kill you. Like I will kill you. Like we have to do. And he's like, okay, and he gets it done. And it's like opposite.
Mm.
And sometimes I'm just like, why? Like we've had the conversation, like, why the fuck don't you get riled up? And obviously he's older than me, not much. He's 44, I'm 38. So he's lived more. His boys are older, so he's had to live through patience a lot more, which I am learning with the
Mm.
2.5-year-olds as they turn to three, turn more into psychopaths. Eh, so he's learned that with kids. He's learned that from his job. Obviously, having employees a decade longer than I've had employees. So he's learned all those things and all those different aspects of owning a business and growing, and I have not. So it's allowed me to grow much faster though, because I essentially have a mentor who has done it for decades,
Mm.
who's teaching me every day, and I bounce ideas off of him. So, but you have to be willing to change. So I've been willing to change my attitude and how I speak to people, and we now have young, entrepreneur, not entrepreneurs, but young owners and young leaders in our company that it's like I recognize myself from 5 years ago, and it's like calm the fuck down. Again, I don't understand how Brent dealt with me as well, because he's a saint for fucking doing that. But again, that's his attitude. He's
Mm.
very chill and relaxed, and so that we play to each other's strengths really well. If you want something done and the earth scorched, then ask me. If you want it to be well thought out, then ask Brent.
That's great, and that kinda brings me to the next spot, the next point is when it comes to the ideal employee, oftentimes it's said that that is the go-getter, the aggressor, the one that's like you in business. But would you agree with that? And then how does the more relaxed personality style fit into the business culture and like making sure that each are put in the right place?
Yeah, I think that's the important part is the last sentence where everybody has a place. So you have to get the extrovert, go-getter, conversationalist into positions like sales and marketing and things like that. Um, as well as even the providers that you have to have somebody who wants to be involved in the patient's lives, change the patient's lives, improve the patient's lives, service our clients, get our name out there. Those all have to be go-getters. You have to have that. But then on the opposite side, the people who are getting taken care of every single day, you need somebody who's maybe calmer, more nurturing, working with the clients to ensure that they have a good customer experience, etc. And somebody said something, I think on a podcast long ago, that I realize is very, very true when it comes to specific positions, in that your best salespeople in the company will likely be your worst managers, and your worst salespeople will likely be your best managers. And that's actually rung out pretty damn true across a lot of the companies that I own, is that people who are really good at sales, they're out there, they're go-getters, they're pushing it, they're driving, they're driven internally, etc. They're usually terrible at leading people because they don't have the EQ, which is the emotional intelligence. They just don't connect with people as much. They have difficulty leading people. And this is why I think providers, physicians, doctors have such a difficult time in leading people, and why they always have their name on the door and they have a huge turnover, is because they only fucking think about themselves, and they're like the leader and they're the person who's growing and everything. And they forget that it's important to have a nurturing side as well, and build people up and pour into people's cups if you're going to continuously take from them.
Yeah. So interesting. So then that submissive team member, more introverted person, where do you see them fitting like in a role within Genesis?
Well, I think submissive is such a bad word. I think when you're talking about the introvert, um, and I don't know, I guess I haven't really thought about this as from top to bottom, but when you think about it, you're really submissive people that just want to show up and follow orders and don't want to rock the boat and don't want to do anything outside. I would say we have little to no employees like that. And I think it's because of our core values, where we have growth as our core value, accountability as our core value. And a lot of times those sh- quote unquote submissive people aren't attracted by our type of culture, because our culture is growth, our culture is innovation, it is accountability. And submissive people aren't accountable for their own actions at all. They're like, well, I was told this is what I was told to do and I followed the
Mm,
directions. It's like when you see all the political shit that goes out, or it's more specifically with the political shit, you see police that defend themselves for, I don't know, shooting somebody or tasing somebody or arresting somebody, and they say, well, I was just following orders. Well, there's a difference between just following orders and versus like willfully not doing something that's morally right. There's a
mhm,
huge difference between that. And it's the same with employees and teammates, is that we don't hire people that are essentially submissive in a way. That doesn't mean we only hire aggressive assholes that like to argue with everything, but there's a difference between being submissive and following directions, understanding, wanting to grow, still pushing to grow, but you have those you may have one or two conversations that it's like, hey, you know, calm down in this area, or hey, that's not your job specifically that I hired you for. I need you to start working on this more, because that you're getting, sidetracked. And they take that, they internalize it, and then they move forward in that direction. So
mm,
in our company, I don't think there is a position for submissive people, because we don't hire essentially submissive people. Most of the people that we have hired or hire are the breadwinners in their family. They're the people who not only, I guess, run the household, but they are feeding the household. They're the ones who want to grow, who want to change the stripes for their company. I think that's a company culture thing. So I
mhm.
don't in our companies, I don't think there's a uh position for submissive people in our company. And I don't we just don't hire them. Period.
Mhm. Well, and a part of the hiring process is the SOP of the hiring process is that 5 questionnaire, that 5 questions, the questionnaire that people fill out about what's important to them. How do you feel like that questionnaire? Well, like let's talk about the questionnaire a little bit, and then how do you feel like that questionnaire helps understand the personality types that you are bringing into the business?
Yeah, so when we first started Genesis, we created this top 5 questionnaire, and I can't remember where I got it from, but we started to use it for all new hires, was their top 5, and we ask them their top 5 restaurants, top 5 places they like to visit, top 5 places they would like to visit, top 5 brands that they like, etc. So it gives us some insight into what they like, what they don't like. And then when we reward people, we would be able to take that out and buy something for them special or do something for them, send them to Disneyland if that was on their list or things like that as part of their bonuses. And so you always remember what people like. And again, we have a lot of employees. So people are like, I know people have bitched on Instagram in the past. Well, why don't you just remember what your employees like? Bitch, I can't remember what the fuck my kids like half the time, or my wife is difficult to buy shit for. You think I'm going to remember 200 plus employees' fucking preferences? No, not at all. So fuck you. That being said, the questionnaires are there so that managers can go back. They can figure out what their team likes. They can ask about what their team likes. And I have some colleagues as well that do personality uh, testing as well to see what's the best way to communicate with people. And I know multiple larger companies do that. We have it invested into that. And I know we've actually done this for our management staff where we did it early on in the year. It's the 4 personality types for the DISC model. So it's dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness. And there's 4 different like groups that you can fall into based off this 50 or 100 questionnaire, and it helps somewhat with communication, learning how people communicate, but it also helps honestly managers and how they personally communicate with other people. So a lot of times they might be a Q4, which is what I am, which is essentially an asshole. Is like straightforward, doesn't take any bullshit, there's no excuses, etc., which is a very harsh way to lead. But you want to be like a Q3, which is balancing conversation with being able to have that empathy side of it. And then there's like Q1 who just like doesn't want to do anything. They're just lazy. And I'm like, whatever. The world just is like whatever it is. Those people that we talked about that are submissive. It's like we don't really have those people in
Mhm.
the business. So we've done personality testing. I know big companies that do personality testing and do really well with it. We haven't gotten into that, but maybe that's something we will do in the future. But it really helps to find what makes people tick. Another trick that you guys can use that I learned is ask somebody how their weekend was. And usually the first or second thing that they talk about are the most important and the second most important things in their lives and what they love to do. Because usually people don't talk about, for the most part, oh, my weekend sucked because this is the shittiest part. They only tell you about the good part because people are used to Instagram where you only talk about the highlights and the good part. If you were to ask somebody, "Hey, how you doing?" and they're like, "My life fucking sucks right now. It's terrible." It might make you stop. But for the most part, if it was a random person, you'd be like, "Oh, this is awkward as fuck." So most people just don't want to share the bad parts, which digressing, that might be good for them to actually share that. But that being said, I think it's important to learn from your staff, ask about their weekends, and then write
Mhm.
down little things that you might remember about them and put them in their file along with that top 5 questionnaire so that you can consistently go back to it and remember why they're working for you because again, nobody works for you. They work for themselves to do something for themselves, whether that's more, everybody's got needs money. So it's more money for themselves, but maybe it's for their family or for their hobby or for their trips or something like that. Whatever they want to spend their money on,
Mm.
that's why they're working for you. That's it. So remember that. You can go back to that, learn what they're attached to, learn why they're doing it, find out their reason for pushing, and then you can feed into that because you can always connect it back to, hey, you're working for your kids. Let's push here. Let's do a little better. Or great job. Your kids are gonna love that.
Yeah, it's being a student of the employees that you have,
Absolutely.
constantly learning about them and wanting to do what's important to
Yeah.
them. So
Yeah.
being a student of it.
Yeah. And I think females do this much better than males on the student side of things. You've experienced that because not only have you built your own business, but afterwards, obviously, you've worked in our business and you've worked in all different aspects of it, HR, and now you're the CEO of your own company, building your own company. How do you think like Brent and I have been different versus what you would probably do in that same situation or those situations?
That's a great question. I mean, um, naturally, there is a draw towards what being curious about people. So I think that that comes pretty naturally to me, being curious about, who are you? What do you like? What do you not like? Um, but I think what you're describing as far as really learning about somebody and putting them in the best role possible and really being in tune with your employees. I mean, that's going to be the same. And I just think that's just across the board. That's what's going to make it successful. So the reason you've been able to build the company that you have is because you've really treated people well. So I think that across the board is what is going to be successful in any business. It's treating people well and really seeing them as human beings and not just it's not just somebody who works for you, but that there's a bigger reason, a bigger why that they're even involved in your company. And I mean, you guys are that way with me. I mean, even though I have an entrepreneur mindset, it's like there are aspects within our relationship, my relationship with you guys, that you've led me into that role more so, where it's not necessarily me, but because I was in clinic for a while, helping with the clients. And it's like that lasted a little while, but because I have that entrepreneur drive, it's like, moving me into a position that, I'm going to be a lot happier in, or, looks a lot more long term.
Mhm.
And so, watching that evolve, I think speaking from that level is seeing how you guys have done that even with my role and how much my role has evolved. And then even now working the skincare line, it's like now we have a product and it's here I am like back in the entrepreneurial role. I'm just doing it in partnership with you guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just progressed to that place. And I think it's worth investing in people who are passionate about your business because, that statement go you can go fast if you go alone, you go far if you go together. It's like we're all going really far together and you're seeing that growth happen in Genesis now today
Yeah, absolutely.
because of it.
Yeah, I think it's a huge part to make sure that you're taking people along with you as much as possible.
And that's kind of, when you have a person that has a heart for the company and is teachable and wants to work hard, and is a go-getter, it's like, okay, like what we're just saying, like how you've moved me into a certain role. But what happens when you have somebody that's like super spacey and not great with time management or has these areas of their personality that make it a little more difficult, but they still have a heart for your business. Like,
Mhm.
what do you do for those people? Like, you don't have to worry about like, I'm on it with time and
Yeah.
tasks and things like that. But what about the people that you're like, you're a little spacey still?
Yeah.
So what happens in those
I
cases?
I think with those people, what you have to do is go back to finding out what will make them move. And so, what I mean by making them move is you have to find out what speaks to them and how they're going to actually do something. Because they got to a point where you hired them because you saw something in them. So, just making sure that you're really concentrating on that, and then going back to essentially giving people checklists. And no matter what, even if you're a self starter, an entrepreneur, or whatever, you can always go back to checklists. I mean, you have checklists, I have checklists, Brent has checklists, things that you have to get done either on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that you're consistently figuring out. And sometimes they just don't, I mean, those spacey people just won't be able to create that checklist for themselves.
Mm.
So you got to go down and create that checklist for them and be like, okay, I just need you to do these things every single day or every single week or every single month. And then you follow up on those checklists. So they might be spacey, but when they look at the checklist, there's nothing to be spacey about. Everything is specific, everything's written out, and it's going to take you a long time at the beginning, but once it's done, it's done. And then that person or that position could use that checklist across the board in all of your locations. So that's part of those standard operating procedures. And sometimes, if that spacey person is in a position that requires a lot of time management, requires a lot of things that require their focus and they just can't do it, then you just move them. You just move them somewhere else as long as they have a heart for it and everything like that. We try and find positions for people, try and build positions for people if they want to be there. But if they won't follow the checklist that we gave them, if they got a heart for it, but they just can't follow any directions, they can't do anything right, then they may be a wonderful person, but that wonderful person does not belong in your business. And that's just part of it. You can't save everybody. You can't help everybody. And as a business owner, you'll feel like a failure at the beginning when you start to remove these people because they love it. They love being there. They want to be there. And it's a skill versus will. Like, do they not have the skill? Because they definitely have the will. They wanna be there, and they just don't have the skill, and you can find a position for them, but if they don't have the will and they don't have the skill, obviously, they're not gonna be there, but if they have a skill and then they don't have the will for it, obviously, that's not who we're talking about either. We're talking about those people who only have will and they have 0 skill, and no matter how much you teach them, you need some sort of skill in management positions, leadership positions, those positions, you just need some skill. You need to not just be 100% spacey. So if they can't follow directions, they can't go towards what you want them to be and improve, then you just unfortunately you just have to replace them. That's just
Mhm.
how it is. You can't keep them in your business because you're not only hurting them because they're not succeeding in that position. You're consistently going to have to be worried about them or like this is ridiculous. I can't believe that they can't do that or this person can do that. But you'll have to worry about them leading all these other people that you have as you expand and as you grow. And in the same breath, you're hurting all those other people because they're led by a space cadet who cannot do their job.
Well, on the flip side, let's talk about the bulldozers
Yep.
because you have that too.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so what happens with those people in those leadership positions?
Yeah, those people you have to I mean, there's 2 ways. And whether you're talking about the bulldozers or whether you're talking about I don't know what we would call the opposite person, the spacey person who's just chilling out, the space cadet or the bulldozers, they can always learn to be opposite. And so like Brent and I, you can always learn to be opposite and have a happy medium. You know, you might tend towards spacey, you might tend towards bulldozer, but it's like you got the far left and the far right, but if you're kind of like in the middle on both ends, at least it makes sense, right?
Mhm.
But if you're full space and full bulldozer, you're fucked as a leader. And so when you get into the bulldozer part of it, y- those people, if they'll, you can talk to them, you can counsel them, you can teach them how they should go through situations, how they should talk to people. But if they're continuing to bulldoze, you just got to move them. They can't be in a leadership position.
Mm.
You got to separate them, pull them out of their leadership position. And Brent and I have had to do that with clinic directors, with people in our company where we've had to remove them from their position because in leadership they're just acting like bulldozers and people hate working for them. And we can't have a whole group of people hating working for one person. We just need to remove that person or move that person. It's the same in your business. If you've got a bulldozer who is highly productive but literally just is always causing HR headaches or being brought up every week and they can't be taught. And even when you move them, they're still a bulldozer. Just fucking get rid of them. No matter how good they are, how productive they are, you're going to build a much better business without them. So there's a study that actually came out this week that was published showing that in the workforce, one highly productive bulldozer type person is more detrimental to a business than having like 5 submissive people.
Hmm.
Meaning that if you had 5 submissive people, you could kinda train them up and they will work better as a team together and the company will grow more than having one bulldozer leader. So and we've seen this. And that person that you fire, that bulldozer that you fire, they're gonna always fucking blame you because they've got 0 accountability. But at the same time, you gotta realize that having people that are, like, bought in to what you're doing and, "Okay, I'll listen to you, we're gonna move in this direction. I just need you to do this, this, and this on these checklists." they're going to be able to go further with you than that one bulldozer who it's my way or the highway. This is what I want to be done. This is how it is.
Mhm.
So, and you can move people again and again. Those bulldozers can learn to be a little bit more emotional, emotional intelligence, learn to listen, to shut the fuck up. And those spacey people can learn to be a little bit more driven, to where they meet in the middle. It doesn't mean if you have a space cadet, fucking fire him today, or if you have a bulldozer, fucking fire him today. You got to work on people. That's part of growth. Is that if you fire somebody for always doing something wrong in your business, then you're never gonna have any fucking employees at all.
It's like getting them into the right position so they're valued for
Yes,
what their strengths are.
absolutely.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
supported for what would be considered their weaknesses.
Absolutely. And if you do that, you'll be one of probably the number of people they could count on one hand that has seen what they're good at, what they excel at, and has put them in a position to where they could excel at. And make
Mhm.
sure you tell your staff that. That was one of the big lessons that I think Ed Milet says in one of his talks is if you really speak to an employee or a spouse or anybody that you meet, if you speak to their strengths and you say, "Hey, you're really good at this. I see that in you. You really excel out of it. You're doing a wonderful job at that." That's your gift. You're one of 5 people, less than
Mm.
5 people that will ever say that to them in their entire life, and they will absolutely run through walls for you, but they'll also, again, see, feel seen, feel heard, etc. And you'll, as a manager, be able to pull the best out of them for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so important, especially as the business gets bigger and bigger. You're talking about hundreds of employees. This isn't just top level leadership. This has to go to like even just within a one group within the business at different um, practices or different establishments or whatever your business, however it's set up. It's like the teams within the teams. Leadership's gonna come from the top down. So what they're seeing happening with their leaders, they're then gonna do with their team members. And it's super important for them to all kind of balance each other out, kind of like what you and Brent do for each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because there's always a good place for different personality styles if they're learning and growing and, not too far on the other ends of the spectrum.
Exactly.
Yeah. What about, knowing what you know today? Like day 1, you're gonna take everything, all the knowledge and learning that you've got today, day 1, and you're gonna build the most incredible executive team of, let's say, 4 to 5 people, 4 to 6 people. What personality styles would you have on the team and why?
Hmm. I think there is very good data. A book that came out called Good to Great. There's very good data in there, and that supports the fact that the CEO of the companies that went from good to great grew massively over a period of 15 years. And these are all publicly traded companies. There were a couple different things. Number one, their CEOs were, for the most part, massive introverts. Um, Number two, they were not your bulldozer type. They were very, very like level-headed, calm, stuff like that. And I realize these are all things that are like opposite of me, so it's always made me think like, "Fuck, how could it be more like that as I grow?" And then number 3, a lot of them were females. Like the companies that actually grew the fastest and the most, I think it was only 2 or 3 out of those 15 were female-led. So it's like, "Okay, it's 2024, I could probably become a female and lead this company if I calm down a little bit." Jokes aside, those were the 3 big things that I always think about. How can I make sure that, because an introvert will sit back a little bit more and listen from the crowd. They'll get more opinions. More opinions also meant that their employees were more apt to speak up, more apt to share, more apt to say, "Hey, I have a problem here," or "I see something wrong here." And I would say that has been my downfall in the company, in that at the beginning, like I said, we're very opposite, Brent and I. So I would burn people to the ground and say that's a stupid idea and so on and so forth. I'm just throwing out examples. I would quite say that was a stupid idea, but I would burn people to the ground. No, that's not going to work, etc. At the beginning, and I think some people who are older in the system in our system are gun shy of bringing things up to me now, which I've changed in a big way to be more like Brent. But that being said, I think it's been a detriment to where people don't bring things up as much, or at least the older employees. But the newer employees, they bring a lot of shit up all the time, which is actually a good thing and a bad thing, I guess. But with an open door policy, it's great because you're always getting ideas or concerns that people have. So I think it's important when you're building a superhero team to have your extroverted people, that the extrovert, we shall call him, who wants to or her, who wants to talk about your business, be about your business, tell everyone about your business. They're like your biggest cheerleader, etc. You need I would say the cheerleader needs to be one, because you need somebody who is, and you want everybody cultish about your brand, but a lot of people won't. When you have a bigger business, they won't be cultish about you. The Amazon box packer is not cultish about Amazon. Like, they are, for the most part, just there to get a job and get a paycheck and work. You want some of those people who are seriously cultish, like, I would find you if you fired me, sort of thing. You cannot fire me. I will come work for you. I will come and cut your grass if you need me to. You want those types of people.
Yeah.
Like, you want a cult following. People are like, a cult following is bad. I mean, you want a cult following around your business. I mean, Jordan had a cult following, with Nike. You have your Adidas. Kanye West has a cult following. Those are the brands that have changed the way those brands are looked at, changed the way those brands are run, and as a result of that, obviously had a massive, massive financial impact on those brands. So you want the cult, I guess, or the cheerleader is one of the people that you want. You want somebody who's opposite of you. So if you're a
Mm.
bulldozer, you want maybe not a space cadet, but you want somebody who's like, we shall call him the sloth. Like, Brent is his power is the sloth. Like, it takes him forever to do things, but he's so introspective and calm and chill. Like, that's his superpower. He is the sloth. And then you want somebody like me, who is like the chihuahua, we shall call him, where he's just like fast and quick, and you need an integrator and a visionary. Brent's that visionary, the sloth, and then the integrator, which is like, the flash, or the chihuahua, who's like moving really fast. And I think you need somebody who is going to be able to, and I think accountability is part of our core values, where they all have to have an aspect of openness to them. Every single position, like, they may be the sloth or the chihuahua or the cheerleader, but you want all of them to be open. They all have to
Mhm.
be open to maybe 20% of their attributes when you build them. Let's say you're on Madden or NBA 2K or whatever, where you're building your athlete. You want your superhero to be built with like 20% of the ability to be introspective and change. Like, 80% of what they do might be awesome at what they fucking do, but 20% you want them to be open to change and be able to,
Mm.
like, pour into them. And that's yourself too. You have to have that attribute that's like open to change and introspective, to where you have a team that's going to work well together. And the best teams in Good to Great, the best teams literally had minutes or videos or proof, or when they interviewed the ex-employees, there was some sort of internal ability to argue with each other, like, bring things up like, hey, we need to fix this, we need to fix this, and there was some sort of argument because they felt passionate about it, and it was always towards improvement of the business.
Mm.
So I think that's an important part too, where you have to have people who are like, I want to improve this so much so that I'm going to speak up, and I'm not going to be worried about, again, as a business owner, you have to have build a culture where they're not going to be worried about being fired because they're speaking up about something, but at the end it's like, okay, we came to a decision. This is the decision now, and you're both okay with that. It's not like, well, now I'm going to hate this person forever. So it's a very high level thinking, and not everybody is going to be able to do that. But if I'm building my superhero team, it's to have that ability.
And how many women are gonna be on there since women were running the major companies?
Well, Genesis is like 95% women. I mean, 90, maybe it's 90% women now because we brought on a bunch of companies and clinics that are just the male owned. But most of the owners, most of the managers in our field in general are females.
Mhm.
I mean, most of the people are females. And that's why you're on the executive team too. I mean, you're the only one beside, we don't have anybody else on the executive team who's female.
Yeah.
So it's important to have, the females on there, or, somebody who is smart enough. It's not like male or female or transvestite or him, her, they, shim, whatever the fuck it is. Like, as long as you're good at your job,
Mhm.
you got a place at the table. I don't give a shit about what you do outside. You come here to execute what we need to do. And if you're there to execute, I don't care if you're a man, women, fucking goldfish. Like, if you're the best fucking goldfish, you could be the best fucking goldfish on our team. Like, I don't care.
In this, you keep bringing up Good to Great, the book. What other types of resources do you feel like have helped you become a student of personalities and, maybe books or courses you've taken that's really helped you lead and manage the diversity of personalities that you have within the business?
I would say anything by Jocko Willink is really good. So he has like, what is it? Dichotomy of Leadership, Extreme Ownership. Those are all really good leadership books that I would recommend reading. I think the military in general, and he's a Navy SEAL. Your Green Berets, your Marines, any type of structure. The military has two things that I think is really important when you're building your business. You need to realize one is structure and direction, and being able to lead up and lead down the chain of command.
Mm,
And number two is every single military branch fights for something greater than themselves. And it's the same in your business. You have to have a vision or something that is greater than yourself that people want to be a part of. That's why masterminds nowadays are so rampant, because everybody wants to be a part of something that's bigger than themselves. And if they're not getting that from work or their job, they're going to go find it somewhere else or be a part of a business that they have that vision. They see their little piece, no matter what it is a part of this big machine that is moving towards a vision, a mission, a direction. And
mhm,
that's super important when it comes to that. And I think those are great books to talk about that. Other books that I've read that are cliche, kind of like Find Your Why or Sell
mm.
or Be Sold. Those are things that we give, our sales teams or personal people, people for their personal aspect when they are being a part of it. But I think really just trying to listen to people as much as possible and hear where they're coming from, and trying to say, thinking in the back of my head, although it might be difficult for you and for me sometimes, like, this person did not come to work today, or did not come to my world today to try and fuck it up. Even though it sounds like it and it seems like it, they did not come today with the sole purpose of waking up and being like, you know what? Today, I'm gonna fuck up Alex's day. Like, totally. This is like my one job is to fuck up his day, and I just want to put him in a shit mood. Like, they did not try to do that.
Mhm.
If they did, it's obviously like the 10th or 15th time, and you gotta fucking take a hint and just fire them. But they don't, like, people. Again, they don't try to come to fuck up their jobs. They want to
No.
do a good job, even if they're not doing a good job. They want to try. They're trying. They're attempting. They're, again, skill versus will. So trying to remember that, take a deep breath and saying, okay, okay, this person did not try and fuck this up, even though they royally fucked it up. Like, how can we, what did I miss? What did they miss? What can we improve upon that solves this problem and make sure it never happens again? And I think that's an extremely important part you have to remember from all aspects. You don't need a book. You don't need anybody fucking to tell you. Just realize that Every human comes into your business to try and do good, because when they do good, they know they're going to get paid for it. And if they get paid, then they could go spend it on their family or themselves or the trip or whatever they want. They want
Mhm.
that money from you. They don't want to get fired every single job. They want that money so that they could go buy something for themselves or for that's going to make themselves happy. So remembering that sometimes as a business owner is difficult, because you're like, motherfucker, I want to choke you to death. This is the stupidest fucking thing you're bringing to my like. Do you know how much other shit I have today to fucking deal with, and you brought this shit to me today? Taking the breath and not saying that out loud, and then just realizing, okay, why did this person bring this up? What was a concern? What were they thinking when they
Mhm.
fucking did this? What the fuck were you thinking? Sometimes is a pretty good question. You know, just what the fuck were you thinking? And getting that like true, I was thinking this, this, and this. Okay. Their intent 99% of the time will not be to fuck up. They won't be like, well, it was because I just wanted to fuck up today. It's not the answer. So making sure that you as a leader are thinking about that from every personality that comes and walking through and walks into your door, because no matter what, every personality wants to win. The guy who's a bulldozer, a girl who's a bulldozer wants to lead and drive and win, wants everyone to come with them, and so
Mhm.
they're not willing to take any type of this way or that way. It's my way or the highway, because this is how we're going to win. And the person who is just a total slug, submissive person. They just want their direction so they could do a good job. So again, they get paid. And everyone in between, they all want to do a good job. Just try and remember that as a business owner. And it's hard every fucking day. It's hard.
Yeah. Compassion is a huge part of the process for me. When you kind of asked the question before, like, what would I do? I think something that's coming up now is compassion. It's like recognizing this person is seeking some happiness for their life, recognizing this person has known sadness or loneliness and despair, and like all these things, just like me. This person is seeking to fulfill their needs, just like me. This person wants to do good or do better. And it's like recognizing that we're all the same, just go about things a little bit different.
Yep. 100%. I 100% agree. Well, that's all we got today for you guys. Do you have a final word, Amanda, on the subject of, maximizing the different personalities? I think you just
Yeah,
kind
just
of did it.
compassion.
Compassion.
Yeah.
Have more
Yeah.
compassion, guys. Huge part of that. That's a huge part. So to close and based off of what we've talked about today, guys, remember that no matter what type of business you want, if you want to build a massive business, you're going to have to hire all types of people. And your culture might be a certain way, and it might be your core values might be certain ways, but you're going to have to hire, if you have a big enough business, when you have a big enough business, you're going to have to hire people that are left leaning, people that are right leaning, people that have blue hair and septum piercings, people that hate tattoos and everybody about it, people that love America, people that fucking hate America, people that want to rule the world and build their own thing, than people that just want to show up 9 to 5 and get their job and go home. You're going to have to hire all different types of people to fit all different types of positions at all different levels if you truly want to build a massive, massive company. And for example, there's an article that just came out that said in 2050, one in every four humans on Earth will be working for Amazon. And if you think about it that way, not you could argue all the fucking ways, but look, Amazon's going to need, if that's one in four people, imagine walking around and one in every four people work for Amazon, like total in the world. So it's the same thing when you think about your business. If you want it to grow, if you want it to be really successful, you're going to at some point have to hire people you probably would never even look at, probably would never even hire, because they've got skills or the abilities that you wouldn't have. Their superpowers are different than yours and what your businesses currently are. But what got you here won't get you there. And you have to realize that the best organizations have all different types of personalities, strengths, and as a leader, you have to be committed to developing all of them from top to bottom. Thanks for listening, guys.